So what we are doing within our company is we are really focused on public-private innovations. Our mission is to drive public value through private growth, so we don't want to really just spend public money to do public things. And what we are doing is we are really researching complex government problems, and we are trying to match them up with private sector technology solutions. They might be product solution, they might be services solution, they could be both. And then, what we do is we sort of try to nurture and adapt and deploy this commercial technology products and services for the federal government. Because many times a commercial product cannot just be directly deployed within the federal government. And what we also do is we really work with the private sector to really think through their public sector strategy and help them really start, build, and grow a federal practice. So a couple of other things that I'm sort of seeing within this changing marketplace that you all need to be aware of. And this is important because whether you're in federal, state, local, or private, this is very, very critical. And one of the most important things that I've seen is really market intelligence relating to mainly the federal government, but its impact on other sectors. When I was the CIO at DOT, I would meet a lot of companies every week. And they would come out and sort of talk to me about what they were visioning and where they saw the opportunities were and those kind of things. And more often than not, I would feel that they did not have the right market intelligence. I'm not sure where they were getting this information, but I knew from inside, because I was sort of looking at the budgets, I was talking to the people, I knew some of this information was not right. And if you don't have the right market intelligence, then you're off and running doing something different where it's going to be very, very costly later on. So there's a way to actually build a solid market intelligence program. And if you're a company of any size, and if you're going to have some kind of impact with the federal government, really figuring out how you build that market intelligence is very, very critical. The second thing that I would sort of mention, again, this is for companies who are sort of working with federal government or state or local governments, and they're sort of doing things on the mission side. If you're doing those kind of things, and if you're in IT, you need to realize that many of the mission systems that are there are not really straightforward IT. They are really a combination of IT and research and development. And so there needs to be some interest in sort of making sure that you have the right kind of research and design and technology expertise available within your group to actually go after some of these kind of projects. The other interesting thing I do want to talk about is really how legislation and regulation and standards are affecting these kind of new technologies. Let me start by giving you an example of the Google driverless car. So the car is there, it's been driving everywhere, you probably must have seen it going around here and there. But there's a problem, because in the current scenario that we are sort of working, the driver is the one who has the insurance program, and he's the guy who drives the car, and that's how the insurance system works. But in a driverless car, there is no driver. So who the hell are you going to insure? What happens when that car actually goes out and hits somebody? So, now you get into some of these newer business models, platforms, new products, technologies, where there is tremendous need to go back and change frameworks, look at new legislation, new regulation, new standards, new policies. Huge opportunity there to sort of interact with the legislative branch. I can give you an example. We are working with a company, a very interesting company. It has got a technology. It has got a camera which, when it sort of takes a photograph, it can find out how many people are there in the car. And that can be used for HOV violations. So, now you have the police sitting there trying to see how many people are there. You don't need to do that. It'll just send you a ticket. But that kind of technology now might require some legislative changes. So there are a number of these kind of technologies that are sort of coming in which are cutting edge. So if you're going to work on some of these technologies which are cutting edge, then you need to start looking at what are those impacts and how do you really go out and do that. That's going to be a critical part of it. On the new business models part, the first one, I just want to touch on that. There are very innovative business models coming out for working with the federal government. So when I was at DOT, we were sort of pushing a program called no-cost contracting. So we wanted somebody to go out and do something for us, but we are not going to pay them anything. Okay? We're not going to pay them anything. But we are going to offer them something which was going to be very useful. And lo and behold, there are a ton of people very interested in that kind of program. I can also tell you, we also put out one of those programs which was sort of built on what we call transaction costs. So we were not going to pay a company anything to go out and start doing anything with, but based on the transaction fee that was going to be charged to somebody, a small share of that could be taken by the company and worked out. So there are a number of these very innovative models that are sort of coming out. And so if you're a company, you're working with the federal government, state or local government, you need to start thinking outside the box and start figuring out how do you really play in this new normal. So one more thing which I sort of wanted to talk about in terms of working with the federal government. One of the things that I found when I was with the federal government was it was very difficult to sort of manage the customer experience of end customers. So we weren't really doing any of that kind of analysis. The IG, the Inspector General, would come out and do some audits, but they were not really relating to customer experience. And what would happen is many times, the contractors would sort of be doing this work and they would go in for a recompete, and they had an opinion that they were doing just so well that they were going to almost assured to get something. And then, somebody else would get selected and they would not have a clue why what happened. And so one of the things that I have been pushing is really what I call customer experience and retention audits. It's very critical if you are really doing work with federal, state, or local, that you get an independent party, not your own company, because your company, as soon as it goes and does a customer audit, is going to come out and say everything is well. You need somebody independent who is an expert, who goes out there, does a study, and gives you an early indication of how good things are going and how, where you can improve. There's a tremendous opportunity in this new normal to actually go out and do something like this. So, with this, I sort of wanted to come to the end of my presentation. We have a whole bunch of services which are very specialized, for federal technology acceleration. We work with both the product companies and the services companies to help them really rethink their strategy about federal and help them grow. I'm not going to get into all of this situation, but I do want to point to one. We have a very interesting program that's coming along, which is our boutique reseller program. And what we have done there is we are finding very niche products that can be targeted at very specific federal, state, or local government products. And we are really exposing them to the right kind of people. And the reason I started doing that was when I was CIO, I only got to see the really big problems. But there are many small problems which could have been solved much more quicker and could have got significant value, and they sort of didn't get done. And then the other issue that I've sort of found, having been in the federal government, is the time it takes to do certain things. So if you sort of look at a standard project that is there, it typically takes about a year. If it's a large project, it takes about a year to get consensus that this project should get funded, internally. It then takes about a year to go to Congress and get the money, Then it takes about a year to put out an RFP, get through all the protests, and actually get the RFP awarded. And then it probably can take a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or God knows whatever number of years to actually get it developed. So at a bare minimum, 3-4 years are going just to get that program started. And what you need to know is average tenure of a federal CIO, major agency CIO, is about 2 to 3 years. So you now need to realize somebody's really passionately going after some project. You're doing it, and it's probably not going to happen in your term. It's going to happen in somebody else's term, and that new person is probably going to have his or her own agenda, and they're going to sort of say, hey, you know, what the heck was this Nitin thinking? You know? And so they start off all over again. So my strategy was to go out and do short projects, targeted projects, do it quickly, and so that's where we are sort of doing it. So with that, you know, what I wanted to sort of go out and sort of tell you is the federal government is changing drastically. It's changing from the outside because of the way the Congress is working and some of the issues there. It's changing from the inside because of the technologies that are coming in. So you have cloud, which is fundamentally changing stuff. You have big data, which is fundamentally changing stuff. You have mobility, which is changing stuff. Apps economy is changing stuff. Sensor technology is changing stuff. You know, there are all these kind of technologies that are sort of coming in that's changing stuff. So there's going to be a very, very major shakeup in who are the established players now and who are going to be the future established players in this industry. And that sort of gives opportunity for everyone, and I hope you all can take some use of some of this information and grow within this space. Thank you.